Good evening, everyone. The regular board meeting should be starting in 10 to 15 minutes. Again, the executive session is still ongoing and the regular board meeting should be starting in about 10 to 15 minutes. Thank you.
Hello?
I can hear you.
Okay. I didn't see anybody. Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
Okay.
but it looks like all of us on Zoom are here, but nobody else that's not.
Yeah, we'll just have the meeting go so long. That won't go too well.
No.
Ah, shit.
Okay, so they can hear us.
What's that?
They can hear us, though. The public can hear us.
But we're on mute, no?
No.
All right.
I just got a message. That's fine.
I'm in.
In the analyst? I mean, attending? Yeah. Okay, promote to panelists, you should be there soon. Okay, I know.
I don't like this Zoom dialogue.
My kid. Hello? Hello?
I hear you. You
Okay.
hear me, Nick?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Miss Wright, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. You can hear me.
So
Yes, we
are
can
we
hear you.
in? Are we in? Are we out? What's the story? Because nobody's answering.
Well, I know we're in. I see Dr. Bender.
I can hear you, Nick.
Okay.
Carrie, you
So
hear,
I think you're in the meeting. Yes, Wayne?
you can hear me?
I can hear you. Yes.
Okay.
Gotta be official, right?
Dr. Bender, I don't see any of the board members who are not on Zoom. Like the ones who are in the building.
I don't see them either.
Are we starting now or is everybody here?
You're only gonna see us as a group.
Oh,
won't see
okay,
us
where it
individually.
says Simone Kelly, okay.
See someone waving.
One second. Mr. Demikoff, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you, Jim.
Thank you.
No, you're muted on the screen.
I'm sorry.
You're muted on the screen, but I can hear you.
Right, that's because I'm using my microphone as is all
Okay.
the board members.
Yes.
Make
sure our microphone's on.
Mr. Demikoff, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Hey, Mr. Gibbons, I'm ready whenever you are, sir.
All right, flag salute.
United States of
To
America.
America and to the republic for which it
For
stands,
which it stands,
one nation,
nation,
under God,
under God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with
with
liberty and justice
and
for all.
justice for all.
Thank you.
New Jersey Open Public Meeting Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interest is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this act, the Ridgefield Park Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof posted at the Bergen Record Municipal Building, Board of Education offices, and district website. When school buildings are open, regularly advertised meetings will take place at the junior, senior high school cafeteria, 1 Ozzie Nelson Drive, Ridgefield Park, New Jersey. Meetings will be held in person when buildings are open and will be limited to 9 members of the public on a first-come, first-served basis. All meetings will also be available virtually, telephonically, through Zoom. Instructions for accessing public board meetings will be made available from a link on the homepage of the district website at least 6 hours in advance of regular meetings. Board meeting agendas and documents are also posted to the district website and can be accessed through the same aforementioned link. Public participation will be conducted both in person and virtually through Zoom. All public will be muted throughout the meeting. Public participation comments are limited to 3 minutes. The public will be able to both speak and be seen by the board when participating remotely via Zoom. Individuals participating virtually that wish to make comments during the public participation will need to raise their hand at the bottom of their Zoom window. Individuals participating by telephone that wish to make comments during the public participation will need to hit *9 on their telephone to raise their hand. The business administrator will then unmute individuals one at a time to speak in the order that their hand was raised.
Thank you, Mr. Tevis. Roll call.
Ready for roll call?
Yep.
Mr. Fernandez.
Here.
Mr. Feitros.
Here,
Mr. Gomes.
Here.
Dr. Martinez.
Here.
Mrs. O'Neill.
Here.
Mrs. Rodriguez.
Here.
Mr. Thiemann.
Here.
Mr. Verselli. Mr. Verselli. Mr. Cathcart.
I'm here.
I'm here.
President Gibbons, you're here. Thank you, Mr. Verselli. President Gibbons.
Here.
Also present, Superintendent Dr. Angela Bender, Business Administrator James Tevis, State Monitor Mr. Wayne Demikoff, and Board Attorney Ms. Carrie Rick.
Thank you. The minutes.
Yes. We just need a motion to approve the minutes.
I make a motion, we approve the minutes. Any specific dates, Jim?
I'll second.
Mr. Gomes? Thank you. No, Mr.
Fernandez or Mr.
Okay, Mr. Fernandez. All right. Okay, any comments, questions regarding approval of the minutes from the March 17th, 2021, both executive and public session?
Mr. Tevis, the dates were questioned. What are the dates for the minutes?
March 17th, sir.
Okay, sorry, I didn't hear. Thank you. So I made the motion to read the minutes of March 17th.
Okay, any further comments, questions regarding the minutes? Seeing none? Mr. Cathcart?
Yes.
Mr. Fernandez?
Yes.
Mr. Feitros?
yes,
Mr. Gomes?
Yes.
Dr. Martinez?
Yes.
Mrs. O'Neill?
Yes.
Mrs. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Mr. Thiemann?
Yes.
Mr. Vasselli,
Yes.
and President Gibbons.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Committee reports. We're going to start with personnel.
Yeah, we had a meeting just the other day in reference to what, basically, we talked just about the new BA that's being presented tonight.
Thank you, Trustee Deeman. Mr. Cathcart, Buildings and Grounds.
There's no buildings grounds meeting, but I would like to say at this time, I wanted to thank Jim Tevis for all the work he did on jointly with the committee. His planning, doing his due diligence, being available. Jim, I can't thank you enough. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. Yes,
Bob, I just wanted to, Bob,
Yes,
I just want to get an update on what stage we're at with the BA and also with the.
it's on the agenda for tonight. Did you look at your agenda, Ricardo?
I did look at the
It's
agenda.
on the agenda.
Okay, I also had a question about the high school principal, where we are with that.
I didn't get it, I didn't hear.
I also have a question about the high school
school
principal,
principal.
where we are with that.
No, that's advertised. There were some local people applied. Outsiders also, Dr. Bender?
Yes.
How many applications in total?
I have not had a recent count, but we're working on that. It recently closed, and we are going to be starting maybe Friday or next week.
For interviews.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you. Trustee Fernandez, Finance.
Yes, finance meeting consisted of reviewing the auditor's mid-year budget projections for the current year, 2020-2021 school year, provided by independent auditors, Ridgefield and Higgins. Further discussed the amount of forecast surplus below and above the 1.1 statutory cap. We discussed with our interim BA and how he can draft up the resolution for our current year meeting, and then finally we discussed making it in the current budget year.
Thank you. Mr. Verselli, negotiations.
Yeah, I think you have to just ask Mr. Tevis to mute because you're getting a lot of echo.
I think that we went through that. Thanks, Tom. We went through that with.
Okay.
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 So we had a meeting last night, and by the way of the update on the status of negotiations from Negotiations Committee, unfortunately, we were unable to reach a settlement with the Ridgefield Park Board of Education Association. We met last night for a mediation with the mediator assigned by PERC. Previously, the association had chosen to declare an impasse and requested the appointment of the mediator. We only had a few meetings here. While we were prepared to continue negotiating, we respected the association's decision. Unfortunately, despite the appointment of a mediator and our continued willingness to negotiate, we were unable to reach an agreement last night. It appears the association's grievance with regard to the level at which its members contribute towards health insurance will need to be resolved before we can resume discussions on our contract. It is our position that the Supreme Court's decision provides a definitive resolution to this dispute. So we are disappointed that we need to continue to litigate this dispute. Nevertheless, though, we remain committed to maintaining a quality educational program at a cost that will maintain competitive wages and benefits that the taxpayers can afford. As this process moves forward, we are dedicated to working cooperatively with the fact finder and the association to reach a settlement.
Thank you. Trustee O'Neill, do you have anything from policy?
We didn't have a meeting. However, we are working on the superintendent evaluations and they are due from the board members on May 3rd.
Thank you. Faculty and programs, Trustee
We
Rodriguez?
met in March and the committee provided a report at the last board meeting. Our next meeting is tomorrow.
Thank you. Trustee Martinez, social justice, is there any updates on any new meetings or initiatives?
During the last meeting that we had, it was the impression of the subcommittee that we were updated thus far, and that we would wait until close to the end of the year, since they're working on so many different curriculum and other initiatives. And we'll give an update at that time.
Thank you.
I just have a question about is there going to be a social justice cafe part 2?
We during the meeting, we did not get a firm commitment on, they said there would be one, but I don't remember us getting a firm commitment on when that would be.
Okay.
So maybe we could confer with the rest of the committee and the parents in the committee and set up a time in the near
Yeah,
future.
I mean, yes.
That'd be great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Bender, moving on to the superintendent's report.
Yes. Can you hear me? Mr. Demikoff? Ms. Wright, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. First, I'd like to begin with saying that kindergarten registration is open, still open. Anyone that needs to, you can go onto the website and register through there. I'm happy to report I'm sorry. Okay, can you bring up Nurse Erin, please? While we bring Nurse Erin to the screen, I'm happy to share that we are going to have our prom June 9th. And today I was able to secure a mobile PCR testing company to come to the high school. They will be setting up and testing any student that will be attending the prom. They must get tested. And teachers that choose to, they will be able to be tested as well. And I want to share that this is free. We are not going to have to pay. The students aren't going to have to pay. This is on the company. So
Great.
thank you. The results will be available 3.5 to 4 hours. That's all it's going to take. And it is the PCR testing. So I'm very happy to share that today. Nurse Erin, are you here? Yes, I see you.
Dr. Bender, could I just ask a quick question?
Sure.
So the rules was seniors only to the prom.
Yes.
And also the graduation, I think, was also opened up by the state to 500 outdoors.
We're going to talk about that now, I think, with
Okay.
Erin.
Oh,
right?
great,
Because the
great.
governor came in and he opened things up a little bit, and I'm anticipating, I would like to believe that things are going to continue to move in that direction. I'm very happy about that. So Nurse Erin, I'm going to let you give your report.
Good evening, everybody. Just wanted to give you guys a little update as far as what we're seeing recently in the past week or so in the village itself. We've had probably one of the lowest reported case numbers that we've seen in probably well over a month and a half. So hopefully this means we're kind of on our downward spiral back down rather than up like we've been seeing the past couple months. As far as the schools goes, we've seen very few cases going on in the school. We had a rougher time prior to spring break. We're keeping our fingers crossed that over the next week or so that things continue and we don't see a little bit of a rise because of spring break. We do want to kind of just discuss the importance of the travel quarantine that we still have going on. We've had several families that have notified us that they have traveled over spring break outside of the surrounding area. As you know, we are requiring a 7-day quarantine if you get tested after 3 or 5 days after travel. If you refuse to get tested, it's a 10-day quarantine. That's anybody that's traveled outside New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Connecticut, and Delaware. This notification went out, I believe, over a month ago, and the building principals have been sending out reminders for parents. But just so parents are aware that if there's ever a question, if you're not sure of something, feel free to reach out to your building nurse. You can reach out to me. I'm available by email, even by phone. You guys can give me a call at the high school, and also reach out to your building principals. Please, if you've traveled, if you are traveling this week, if you plan on traveling in the next couple of weeks, please be courteous and let us know. You can continue learning remotely, your child. So there's really no reason to put anybody else at risk, especially since we're getting so close to the end. Like Dr. Bender said, we have prom coming up before you know it. We want to try and get as many kids back into the building. The high school is hoping to get some children back within the next couple of weeks, especially those seniors that really deserve, their last hoorah before the end of the year. They've had a rough year this year. So please be courteous. Remember, travel quarantine is in place. If there's ever a question, you could always look through the Department of Health, or you guys can contact your individual school nurses.
Thank you, Nurse
Okay.
Aguilar.
Nurse Erin, can you hang on for 1 second, please, on the screen?
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Hey, Aaron, how many, do we know the percentage of staff that's been vaccinated yet?
We are doing very well, to be honest with you. I don't have an actual percentage. If you guys give me a few minutes, I can get that back to you, a percentage number, but I'm going to say we're well over 70%. Some buildings are a little bit higher than others. Obviously the high school is a bigger school, has more staff members, but we are really seeing a lot of staff members that have been vaccinated or in the process. A few of the younger teachers are still, they're just waiting it out and are interested. They just, it's just started to open up to the younger population. So we're doing very well. I'm very proud of our staff. They really have stepped up and did the right thing as far as getting vaccinated. And we've had actually down at the high school, several juniors and seniors, I've received notification that they've been out because they're getting vaccinated also. So people are doing the right thing. You're welcome.
Thank you, Aaron.
Okay, thank you, Nurse Erin. If you can just hang on for 1 minute. So I'd like the audience to know that National Nurses Day is celebrated annually on May 6th to raise awareness of the important role nurses play in society. It marks the beginning of National Nurses Week, which ends on May 12th. That happens to be the birthday of Florence Nightingale. This year, building on the increased visibility of nurses' contributions, National Nurses Week has been expanded to Nurses Month in May. This year, we will celebrate National School Nurse Day, Wednesday, the 12th. And I would like to read this proclamation to the public and to all of our nurses in our district and those that have relatives that are nurses as well. Proclamation, National School Nurse Day, May 12th, 2021. Whereas the Ridgefield Park Public Schools nurses who provide healthcare and share their medical expertise and knowledge in caring for approximately 2,200 students and assist and advise parents, teachers, and the superintendent, especially during the global pandemic. Whereas families deserve to feel confident that their children will be cared for regardless of their learning environment. And whereas all students have a right to have their physical and mental health needs safely met in all settings. And whereas students today face more complex and life-threatening health problems requiring care. Whereas the COVID-19 global pandemic has emphasized the essential role school nurses play in student health and academic success. And whereas school nurses have served a critical role in improving public health and ensuring students' academic success for more than 100 years. And whereas school nurses address the home and community factors that impact students' health. And whereas school nurses act as a liaison to the school community, families, and healthcare providers on behalf of children's health by promoting wellness and improving health outcomes for our children. And whereas school nurses support the health and educational success of children and youth by providing access to care when children's cognitive development is at its peak. And whereas school nurses are members of school-based teams such as School Health Services, 504, IEP, Disaster Emergency Planning to address the school population. And whereas school nurses understand the link between health and learning and are in a position to make a positive difference for children every day. And therefore be it resolved that I, the Superintendent of Schools, recognizes in collaboration with the National Association of School Nurses, celebrates and acknowledges the accomplishments of school nurses everywhere and their efforts of meeting the needs of today's students by improving the delivery of healthcare and offers gratitude for the Ridgefield Park Public Schools school nurses by helping students stay healthy and ready to learn, not just on this National School Nurse Day, but at every opportunity throughout the year. And be it further resolved that this superintendent of schools is committed to the continued support of all nurses of the Ridgefield Park School District. Now, therefore, do hereby proclaim Wednesday, May 12th, 2021 as School Nurse Day in the Ridgefield Park School District and commend its observance to all citizens in our school community and beyond. I ask the board to join me in thanking our school nurses. I will be sending out this proclamation via email to all of our school nurses. Thank you, Nurse Erin. Thank you.
Thank
the
you. We
team of
really
nurses.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, next, I'm going to share a presentation. I'm going to make it very quick. It's about our summer program. Nancy's putting it up. She's getting it. They're going to see it. Do you understand? Oh, yeah. She can. Okay. All right, next. Okay, there we are. Thank you. No, that's okay. So there's been a lot of planning going on recently, trying to figure out how are we best going to serve our students this summer. And this was from a committee, the Summer Session Planning Committee was the title. The need to get rid of the summer packets of the old and increase pandemic funding from the New Jersey Department of Education, increase student need for accelerated learning, a need to reacclaim our students to in-person learning, an interest in re-engaging our students with the amazing resources and opportunities provided by in-person learning. So this is going to be an inquiry-based in-person learning summer program. So what do we intend to do? Next slide. Some of you may or may not know that I am very actively involved in Ramapo College's Master's in Educational Technology, which is also Dr. Angela Christini runs the Meadowlands Environmental Center. She is the dean and also the assistant up at Ramapo and as well as Meadowlands Environmental Center. And I am joining our school district with their facilities. And we're partnering with them. Next slide, please. So what are our intentions? We are going to provide our pre-K through 12, all students will be included in daily hands-on interactive science activities. And twice a week, we are going to have terrific Tuesdays and Thursdays. We're also bringing the mobile lab for the interactive science activities. And then twice a week, we will have parent science evenings with their students. So that every school will take a turn. Okay, next. This is just, okay, I was gonna say the back. Okay, great. So what you see are some of, nope, go ahead. I'm sorry, Nancy, that's okay. What you see here, there are two slides that I'm just gonna go through that these are the activities that we are going to be looking into to have our students participate in. Tree-tastic, H2O Olympics, fish, fish, fish. Next slide. Down and dirty with decomposers, wonders of wildlife, climate change. Those are some of the activities. Next. The Terrific Tuesdays, believe it or not, some of you may remember the mobile library. Back in the day, we had a library on wheels. Well, the Meadowlands came up with this wonderful lab on wheels. It was called the Mobile Food Lab. So if you see MFL, that's what it stands for. So our K-5s are going to participate in this mobile lab. And the lab will also be there, as I said, in the evening with the parents. So some of the activities are gardening glove, parts of plants, and so on and so forth. For K to 6, they'll have hydroponic growth rate experiments, vitamin C and liquids, and flavor and food science. There's an example there you see of the hydroponic growth. So what is our field trip Fridays going to look like? This is going to be on, a first come, first serve. As parents choose to, they would be able to sign up. Field trips will have, students can go to the Meadowlands and they'll participate in net studies. You can see them with the fish nets. Well, that's on the marsh. So they'll be doing a lot of investigating in the estuary explorers. So stay tuned because more information is going to be coming out. This plan is for June 28th through July 30th, Monday through Friday, 9 to 12. And the sessions, as I explained, are, the 4 days a week and then the field trip Fridays. Okay, and again, more information will be coming forward. Thank you. All right, next for me. Last but not least, as many of you know, May celebrates also Teacher Appreciation Day. So to honor our Teacher Appreciation Week, May 3rd through 7th, but more specifically, May 4th is going to be deemed Teacher Appreciation Day. So please, I'd like to read this proclamation. Whereas the Ridgefield Park Public Schools teachers and staff who are responsible for providing all students with an opportunity to learn while shaping the minds and hearts of over 2,200 students in order to uphold each student having an equivalent opportunity at life through education and safe and non-threatening classroom environment in person and virtually. And whereas bus aides and bus drivers to provide transportation that is safe, and whereas cafeteria employees to provide meals for all students and their families, and whereas custodians and maintenance employees provide a safe and clean environment for students to come to and learn, and whereas teaching assistants provide support by nurturing all students, and whereas school nurses who provide healthcare and share their medical expertise and knowledge in caring for all students and assist and advise parents, teachers, and the superintendent, especially during the global pandemic. And whereas the child study team and school counselors to provide all special needs students, their families, and the district with continuous outreach to all students to assure they are well physically, emotionally, and mentally, while also providing resources for families in need. And whereas office support staff, administrative assistants, administrators, and the entire central office team for continuously supporting and preparing for the needs of students and families in the various office tasks to purchase, assist, and communicate to families in need. And whereas the COVID-19 global pandemic has highlighted the crucial role teachers play in a classroom that respects inclusivity, supports the social emotional learning and academic success of all students. And whereas the Ridgefield Park Public Schools teachers spend countless hours in learning new technologies and searching for new added online resources, and whereas the Ridgefield Park Public Schools teachers invested their time above and beyond in preparing lessons, creating safe and non-threatening virtual and hybrid cultures. And whereas the Ridgefield Park Public Schools teachers who are dedicated to building lasting connections with families and our village, and whereas consistently collaborating with colleagues in reflection and honing and sharing their best practices in the art and science and the craft of teaching and learning, including countless hours of professional development. And whereas teachers are responsible for educating our students as they are the future, and by investing in them today, we are ensuring a better world for tomorrow. And therefore be it resolved that I, Dr. Angela Bender, Superintendent of Schools, urges parents, residents of the Village of Ridgefield Park, and the Board of Education to support and celebrate all teachers, including all who, regardless of their position within our district, who serve our children. And be it further resolved that I, the superintendent, are committed to continued support of all teachers and all staff of the Ridgefield Park School District, and do hereby proclaim the week of May 3rd through 7th, 2021 as All District Employees Appreciation Week, and specifically Wednesday, May 4th, 2021 as Teacher Appreciation Day in Ridgefield Park, and commend its observance to all students and our school community and beyond. Thank you, everyone in Ridgefield Park Schools, for all of your dedication. I'll be sending this out to all staff tomorrow as well. Thank you. And that concludes my report.
Sorry, the monitor's report, please, Mr. Demikoff.
Sure. You will hear shortly, we'll have the public hearing on the adoption of the 2021-22 budget. I would just like to, again, compliment Mr. Tevis for doing not a good job, but an outstanding job in preparing this budget. It contains something for the educational side, a great deal of improvements educationally. It also addresses the shortcomings we've had for years in the facilities. So it's a complete budget that I hope that the majority of the board will vote. In fact, the whole board will vote in the affirmative. Just as an aside, when the preliminary budget was sent down to the county, we got an immediate approval at their end, which is not something that's easily done. So the preliminary budget that Mr. Tevis put together, and now the final budget, which will be part of the public hearing, was a job well done. And thank you again, Mr. Tevis, again for all your hard work and countless hours in preparing it. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, and I can speak for all of us. Thank you so much for all the work you've done, Mr. Tevis, with the budget
Thank
and
you, Mr.
everything
Davis.
else.
Appreciate it. Okay.
Okay.
At this point, excuse me. At this point, I would like to open up a hearing on the adoption, public hearing and adoption of the budget for the 2021 school year. I'd like to start off with, excuse me. I'm just going to give just a brief presentation on the budget itself. An in-depth PowerPoint presentation was given at the March 17th board meeting. The overall budget, general fund operating budget, consists of an amount of $49,275,000. And it does contain many, many technology and facility related initiatives, as well as curriculum. Just to give you a quick highlight, the budget contains nearly $4.8 million in facility initiatives, another $2 million, a little over $2 million in technology initiatives, another $90,000 in equipment, as well as a number of curriculum related initiatives, totaling a little over $1.2 million in staffing, and another $606,000 in curriculum, textbooks, and professional services. So I do want to say that I am happy to have been able to put together such a budget with the support of the superintendent, state monitor, and of course the Board of Education. I think it's a budget to be very proud of for all of us. It contains nearly $1.4 million of additional state aid, as well as another $300,000 in extraordinary aid for special education. I want to announce that no changes have been made from the preliminary budget that was adopted on March 17th. is being presented to the board this evening, so it contains absolutely no changes. And for any of the public that are attending, if you wish to view the presentation that was given at that meeting on the budget that's being adopted this evening, it is on our website. Actually, both budget presentations that were given this budget season are on the district website, and I encourage you to take a look at that. That being said, what I'd like to do at this time is open up questions to the board. Any questions on the budget up for approval this evening to the Board of Education? Okay. Dr. Martinez?
Yeah, Jim, I'd just like to ask, we are making a lot of facilities. There are a lot of proposed facilities and curriculum, perhaps more than we've ever spent in at least over a decade in this district. Going forward, how are we in terms of our facilities? How are we, Dr. Bender, how are we in terms of our curriculum, being up to date in technology? Like, what grade would you give us at the end of next year, if you could do that?
What grade? You said what grade would
I was being.
Can't hear you.
facetious. What grade would you give us at the end of next year should all these initiatives be completed?
So can you hear me now, Mr.
Yes.
Chamakoff? Okay. There's never enough, right, for supplies and initiatives. We are moving in great strides. I'm very proud of where we are. Of course, there's, more to accomplish. As far as a grade,
Well, I was just kidding. You don't really have
I
to
mean,
give
I
me a
think
grade.
we're A.
But I'd like Jim to also say in terms of our buildings, given that you probably have the most familiarity with them. How are we doing?
Right. The proposed budget is making great strides to improving our facilities, especially needed infrastructure. I know it's not that glamorous, but these are things that have been overlooked for many years, such as roofs, windows, boilers, HVAC updates, and the like. There's still quite a bit more to go. The board had actually taken out a survey, not a survey, but a plan that was developed by our architect, I believe back in 2017, 2018. I was hired just as that was being wrapped up. And that contained millions and millions and tens of millions of dollars worth of suggested improvements to the district, some of which we are accomplishing in this proposed budget. So I'd say an A. I think the district's really doing a great job and moving in the right direction to upgrade its facilities and its technology
Thank you.
and its curriculum.
Thank you.
Okay.
Would you like to move to citizens' comments on the agenda?
You got a comment, George.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize, trustee Fernandez.
And Jim, to clarify, is there any additional COVID grants or federal grants that we're leaving off this budget by any chance that we're still?
Yes,
Do
there
you
are.
mind telling some of the board members about that as well?
Certainly, certainly. At the last, I believe at the March 17th board meeting, I'd given an update again on all the federal grants that the district has received to date. Significant money, close to 1.7 million up at this point. That was before ESS, the second round of ESSA, ESAR, which is the CARES Act federal fund granting. We just received another nearly $1.6 million in round 2 of CARES Act funding. So the application of it actually is being worked on right now by Dr. Haynes and myself, and we'll be submitting that within the next week or two. We'll be using that for a lot of it will be going towards HVAC related upgrades, which is great to improve indoor air quality and general air within the building. And others are being used for, I'm going to say, social justice and curriculum-related initiatives. And I'm hearing now that there's probably going to be a third round of CARES Act that was just recently announced by President Biden. So we're looking forward to being able to spend that because there's always ways to spend it.
I'd like to add to that. So you're aware, the program that I just shared with you on the Summer Academy is funded from, the majority of it is, it's all title funds and this ESSER funds as well. So it's wonderful that we're getting this opportunity through the funding of the government.
And Mr. Tevis, none of that money is included in the budget, correct? These are all monies above and beyond the budget. These additional
That is
monies
absolutely
from
correct.
the
Yes.
federal
This is
government
money
that are
that-
either that will come sometime, I'm assuming,
Correct.
after this current fiscal year, correct?
I didn't hear the last sentence, sir.
That will come sometime
talking to your
after
mic?
this current fiscal year ends, correct? The monies.
Well, the CARES Act 2 funding will be in the next year's.
Correct. I mean, no, it's after July 1st.
That will be after July 1st for the Easter 2, which we're spending on HVAC upgrades and social justice and curriculum. The
So
other
these are
grants-
monies that are not budgeted,
I'm sorry?
not in our capital reserves, but additional monies that we'll be able to spend on additional facility and other upgrades throughout the district, correct?
This is money that, we don't need to use capital reserve or maintenance funds.
Correct. I'm saying these are monies that are not included in our current capital reserve or will be part of the capital reserve at the end of this current fiscal
Oh,
school
no,
year.
no.
This is additional monies, correct?
These are grant funds, so they are
Correct.
not tied to the general operating fund budget in any way. They're separate. and apart.
Correct. All extra monies. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome, sir. Okay.
Thank you.
There's no other questions. I need to now, I'm going to open up the hearing to questions from the public, just strictly related to the proposed budget that is on for final adoption this evening. So we'll take a moment. And I see that we have two members of the public. Again, this is only pertaining to the budget. I'm only entertaining questions on the budget. A chance to have agenda questions will come immediately after this. Mrs. Loicona, if you wouldn't mind bringing in the first.
And thank you. And
Member of the
we're going to
public.
keep citizens' comments to 3 minutes. I have a timer as recommended the last meeting, so thank you very much.
Okay. So we have Valerie Ferraro. If you could unmute yourself, please, and please state your budget-related question.
Still muted.
We'll give you 30 seconds. We're not hearing you. Okay. Let's bring in the
Yeah,
next
okay.
member of the public. Oh, here she comes. Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry. My
Okay,
question is on agenda, not on the budget.
Please state your name.
Okay.
Please. All right. Please state your name and address, please. for the
Valerie
record.
Ferraro, 436 Teaneck Road, but my question is on agenda, not on the budget. Thank you.
Okay, we'll have to, sorry. All right. Can't move you out. Okay, could you bring in the next member of the public, please, Ms. Loicona? I will demote this individual.
Hello, Christina Ramos.
Hello, Mrs. Ramos, if you could state your name. and
Christina
address,
Ramos,
please.
382 Teaneck Road.
Thank you. You have a budget-related
Yes,
question?
your preliminary budget that was just shown to us on the 317 meeting, you say that there was no
Yes.
other changes since that time, correct?
That's correct. There has been no
So,
changes to the preliminary
don't know
budget
if I
that
can-
was
I don't-
adopted by the board.
I don't know if I can ask this question because it's kind to do with the budget and also about item F1 163 that kind of commingles with the budget that we're talking about repaying back the 500,000 to the state.
No, that's not, has nothing to do with the proposed
So the-
budget. I'm talking about this is about the proposed budget for the 21-22 school year. I'm looking for any questions regarding the adoption of the proposed budget. This is a public hearing on that budget that I'm conducting
Okay,
at
I'll
the
come
moment.
back. I'll come back for
No other
that.
questions.
Thank you.
Again, if you don't have a question that's specifically related to the proposed budget. Okay, could you bring in the last person? It looks like we have a question from Mrs. Loicona. I recognize this person.
Hey,
Mr.
how are you?
Hidalgo. Good, sir. Would you mind stating?
Yeah,
your name
Ronald
and address?
Hidalgo, 335 Teaneck Road.
Thank you, sir. And you have a
I don't have a
question?
question. I just want to congratulate you guys for doing a great job with the budget and an excellent work. And I just want to say kudos to you guys for doing that. Excellent
Great. Thank you. Thank you. On behalf of the board, thank you very much, Mr.
Thank you,
Hidalgo.
Mr.
It's very
Hidalgo.
appreciated. Okay, seeing no other members of the public wishing to speak on the proposed, on the final budget, I so close the public hearing on the 21-22 school budget. Okay, that's it for me, Mr. Gibbons.
We can move on to citizens' comments on agenda items.
Okay, you can, thank you, Mrs. Lloyd. Reading my mind, thank you.
I'm back. Christina Ramos, 382 Teaneck Road.
Thank you.
Good evening.
So yes, I wanted to go back, I guess, and ask how the F16 number 163 repayment back of the loan of 500,000 will affect the budget of 2021, 2022.
Well, I'm muted. Oh, no, that's right. It will not affect the 2021, 2022 budget. You know, because that budget stands alone now on itself. You know, this that resolution is going to specifically address surplus funds out of the current year 2021 budget.
2021 budget. Okay, and can I just, you know, I would like to know, and maybe so that the public can understand better, why we're considering to repay back this state loan, interest-free loan back again. I know we discussed this at the last board meeting, but you know, many of us are still, you know, not understanding the logic behind that.
Oh, okay. How are you, Mrs. Ramos? This is Trustee Fernandez. How are you, Miss?
Hi.
So during the 2020-21 school year, we actually we had a surplus balances directly attributed to the employee health insurance, directly attributed to premium costs going down and saving the district approximately 10.5%. I repeat, 10.5% of the budgeted amount that we would have. And with that said, I mean, when extra money is available, paying off a loan is certainly often a good choice. When a finance committee and I reviewed the surplus of the current budgeted year and ensured that the 1.5 statutory cap was met, immediately we thought, how do we relieve ourselves of some of this debt? So again, without affecting any of our school year, for the 2020 budget, 2021, 2022 budget, this is what we thought was most effective way of spending instead of gradually capitalizing it against further renovations to our school district. And as we just read off, we're addressing heavily during the next school year. Thank you.
Okay, but
Thank you. Mr. Tevis,
hello.
we can move on to the next member of the
Okay.
public.
Thank you, Mr. Gibbons.
Thank you, ma'am.
Ms. Lloyd Carter is going to bring in the next public member now. Okay. Mr. Hidalgo, you wanted to speak?
Yes,
sir?
yes. I would like to say something about that decision of paying off an interest-free loan when we have so many items to fix. We have so many things to do in the school infrastructure. We have buildings to fix. We have so many things that we could do with that money. And instead of paying that loan, I think that would be stupid. I think that we should use that money in the best interest of the children and use it accordingly. I believe that the main reason for paying off the loan is trying to get rid of Mr. Demikoff. But I have something to tell you guys. You are not going to get rid of Mr. Demikoff. He's here to stay. And even if you pay the loan, he's not going to go anywhere. I really don't know why the decision is really stupid. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Hidalgo.
Well, Mr. Hidalgo, just to add to your point, I mean, in paying off this loan early, that's not interest-free because it's attributed to paying off a state monitor's salary. So you can't say that it's interest-free, maybe in theory, but it's not. You're actually would be removing some cost-effective ways that we would be obtaining to be able to give back to our business operations and our personal matters. It would be addressed if we would pay this loan sooner rather than later.
Actually,
So,
I think that what Mr.
to
Demikoff bring to,
use a word like stupid is very, condescending, especially being a former board member.
I believe that I believe that the good things that Mr. Demikoff brings to the board will overcome the $140,000 that we pay him. We have so many great
It's
things
about
in the
700,000.
school after Mr. Demikoff came in.
It's about 700,000, Hidalgo.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. This is something we must work.
Mr. Hidalgo, if you could just complete your comment or.
All right, you're cutting me off. That's fine.
No, I'm not. You have 35 seconds.
Okay, what I'm trying to say is that the benefit that Mr. Demikoff brings to the board is way higher than $140,000 a year. This gentleman has helped bringing the school system out of the hole that we were in, that we are gonna go back as soon as we get rid of him. Wait for it. I can tell you that. We're gonna go back to being a system school.
Thank you, Mr. Hidalgo.
Mr.
I appreciate your comment. Thank you.
Mr. Gibbons.
Mr. Gibbons.
Mr. Gibbons.
Yes.
It's Mr. Freitas. So
Yes.
if I can just make a comment, with the respect to that last comment, when with us paying down $500,000 of this loan, we still have 3 more years at a minimum of payments to continue this paying off this loan. I mean, we would just be shortening it from 10 years to 8 years. And we just finished saying that we have a very aggressive budget for the 2021 to 22 year. And we just found $1.7 million of additional funds that are not budgeted and not in our current capital reserves or maintenance reserves for that matter, that we are spending within the district as it relates to education, buildings, and all these things. With all this money, it's almost like a tax return. You get $10,000 on your taxes. You're going to spend a big portion of it on your home, your family, but you're also going to pay down a credit card. And I think that's what we're doing here, is taking a few dollars and paying down within this current school year, because we found some savings from our benefits of 10.5%, which is not only premiums, but also an adjustment from the state, which allows us to get some of that benefit back. So we're taking that money and just giving it back to the state. I mean, we are, Mr. Tevis has been very clear throughout this entire school year of all the different projects we've been doing, what the projects are for next year, plus $1.7 million. At what point is it not prudent for us to say, let's take a few dollars and pay down the debt? Listen, Mr. Demikoff has done a lot of great things over the last 5 years. And albeit that maybe we always haven't seen eye to eye on every single thing, he's going to be here for at least another 3 years, because we have 8 years to go after we pay this $500,000. So, I mean, to say it's a short-sighted or anything else, I think we're trying to be prudent with every single dollar. And I mean, we found a windfall in the benefits line. I mean, why not pay down some debt? Thank you.
Chris, just,
Yes, Mr. Cathcart, then Mr. Rizzo.
The comments about Mr. Demikoff, without Mr. Demikoff, we wouldn't be in this position. He's the one that guided us through this and took us through some very hard times. So I don't understand Mr. Hidalgo's comments. So Wayne, thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Demikoff, thank you, sir.
Mr. Verselli, did you have a comment?
No. I'm all right.
Mr. Tevis, can we move on to the next citizen comment? Thank
Okay,
you.
we'll bring the next member of the public in.
Hi, Kathy Tabasco, 22 Teaneck Road.
Thank you.
How are you?
Good, how are you? Well, first of all, I want to thank all the teachers for everything that they do and the nurses for everything that's coming up and all the appreciation days. But real quick, Dr. Bender, I do have a question. As far as technology goes, as far as books updating with the students, where do we stand as far as the overall school system percentage-wise that's up to date 100%? My second question is, yes, are getting a windfall due to the pandemic of federal funds, but these federal funds aren't something that's going to happen over the course of, let's say, the next year. This next budget that we get from them may be the only thing we have. So now my thing is, and why I'm so against you guys sending that in now, is you don't know what's going to happen once all of these kids come back in September. Are we going to get another wave of this? You have no idea. Do we have to get new laptops? Does that put us in a budget deficit? Or then are we going to have to lay off teachers? Like, there's so much in the unknown. Isn't there a way that that money could be put on reserve to say, okay, we want to earmark this for paying off the loan, that 500,000? Why don't we wait 6 to 8 months? Let's see what happens when we get these kids into school. Is there more books and everything that we could get for these kids and upgrade their technology and not have books? I know we're doing a phase in, but couldn't that money be better used to not postpone any programs and upgrade as much as we possibly can?
Mrs. Tabasco,
Yeah, I can hear you.
There's never enough when it comes, you can hear me, right?
Yes.
Okay, there's never enough in my mind as a superintendent or as a mom, right, that we can give our kids. We're on our way. And as far as technology, we're moving forward. There's plenty of always something new coming out. I think that we all know that once we buy something, 10 minutes later, it's obsolete or on its way to being obsolete. Textbooks, well, you know what? We're going to have to start thinking about moving into a new direction with online textbooks. So that's a cost. So yeah, you're right. We're not really there yet, but we're really on a good way to being there. So I'm very proud of our initiatives. I am thankful that the government has been giving us money, but to say for September's, I was in a meeting with superintendents today, and we're a little nervous. I have to say, we're concerned with what will September look like. We don't know yet. We have not gotten enough guidance. Are we going to be able to bring back students at the middle school and high school under 6 feet social distancing? What will that mean if we don't? If we open fully, I don't know what to expect. So as far as where we are, what our needs are, there's never an end. We're on our way. I'm very happy with where we are moving forward, but I don't know you're right. I don't know what September will bring or the future from there.
Mr. Gibbons, just real quick before, yeah, just real
Thank you,
quick,
Ms.
just like 30, I
I'm
just need 30
sorry,
seconds so I can answer her,
I just
respond
wanna-
back to one thing. I just want to respond one thing to her real quick.
Please proceed, Mr. Tabasco. You have gone over your time, but
I do
to,
appreciate, sure.
respond.
Dr. Bender, please know, I think you are the golden rainbow that has come to the board and what the initiatives and everything that you were moving forward. That's not what I meant. What I was trying to just ask real quick is, with that 500,000, wouldn't it do better to continue the upgrade in the technology and the book? So I might have misspoke my question. That's what I was asking versus paying back the loan that way. I do apologize. Mr. Gibbons, thank you very much.
And thank you, Mr. Tabasco.
Okay, yeah, and just to reiterate, we also do have a 1.7 that's not on our budget that it is going to some of these technology initiatives. So just if there's any other confusion to the public, we have reviewed this. And again, there is 1.7 million that's not on our budget that's going to these initiatives.
If I could just say, I think that, when I teach finance to high school kids, one thing I teach them when they go out into the world in their first career is that you're going to find that your expenses will grow to your income. And every year you get a raise, somehow you're going to match your expenses. You're going to buy more.
Hello?
And I think it's part of our nature of starting from the federal government down to just keep spending money instead of being responsible and taking care of our debt, and that's what they've been doing for decades. And I think it's our responsibility to, be responsible here and try to eliminate some of this debt while we can. And everybody's saying, what if? Well, what if we pay off the debt and then the government cuts our funding? Well, now we don't have to pay $250,000. Whether they cut it or not, we have to pay $250,000 every year to them until it's paid off.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else, Jim? Mr.
Yes,
Coloma?
I have Mr. Coloma.
Hi, can you hear me?
State your name and address, sir.
Yes, Jimmy
Yes,
Coloma,
sir.
145 Poplar.
How are you?
Good, how are you? I was going to ask if we could please, I know I asked in the last meeting, and maybe I'll have to send in a formal request, but if there's any chance that we can get some sort of formal clock so we're respectful of everybody's time, maybe something we could look into.
Mr. Coloma, yes, I made a comment about it, and we're clocking it in 2 separate places. So I will actually have a visible clock with a sound for everyone as well next meeting. But
Excellent.
thank you. I did look at your request.
Excellent. Appreciate that. Sorry, I missed that. I was having some technical difficulties. Just a couple of comments, I guess, again, with regards to the budget. I know we keep focusing on, well, first of all, I want to piggyback off what Mr. Vasco said, and I appreciate that, right? We don't know what's coming. We don't know what the new year is going to bring. We don't know if the kids are going to go back to school. We don't know if we're going to need more supplies, more janitorial help, more cleaning, more screens for the schools, et cetera. I think you get the point. But I guess what I want to understand is we're focusing on the 500,000 that we're paying off. How much is the total, and how much time do we have to pay it off? Because I'd like to get an understanding of what percentage we're paying off now and how much time we actually have.
We actually would be shaving off 2 years of the loan repayment.
So,
Mr. Jim.
How long are the terms and how much is left? Prior to the
I
500,000,
believe
what's
there's 8
outstanding?
installments left.
It was a 10-year state loan at $2.5 million over a 10-year period that started, first payment was made in 2016, 2017.
Okay. So,
And at the end of this school year, on June 30th, if we didn't make without the additional 500,000, okay?
Yep.
On June 30th of the school year, we will be made half of the required state aid payments back.
so 1250 left, 1.25.
Another 5 years to go.
So
Correct.
1.25 at 5 years.
Right.
And we're looking to,
That's correct, sir.
so if you kind of take that as 0% and just make it a flat rate of 250 a year over the next 5 years, but we're looking to expedite that and double that payment at 500 for this year. Just using simple
No, it's
math.
an additional 500,000. So this year it would be, this would equate to a $750,000 payment on the state loan.
Okay.
Loan this year.
So we're accelerating the
an
payment. We're
additional
tripling, 300% accelerating the payment. When we have 5 years left.
No, we're meeting our first obligation that's due in June, and we're making an additional 2 payments. So it's 1 that's mandatory and 2 additional.
Okay, got it.
So that would leave us with 2 left. 3
Yeah,
left.
yep.
And
President
for your
Gibbons.
comments,
No,
Mr. Coloma.
I guess
don't mean
from,
to,
no,
cut you off.
no worry. Just trying to understand the numbers and the figures, right?
It would be
Because
3 left.
Yep, no, understood. I guess what I'm trying to understand, and from a compromising perspective, maybe 250 would be a little more reasonable, but 500,000 sounds like a lot of money.
President Gibbons, can I
Thank
just
you, Mr.
quick
Coloma.
comment?
Yes, Mr. Vaselli.
It's everybody keeps on saying like we don't know what the future holds, but that's exactly what we're trying to do here. Everybody says, well, none of this was budgeted. This was found money. We can get ahead of ourselves so we can have money for the kids if the future does go bleak. We have to understand that. And yes, the quicker we do pay this off, I mean, I'm a little insulted that we were told that we need Mr. Democroft or we're going to go to hell again. I mean, that's ridiculous. That's a slap in the face to the great job that Mr. Tevis did, but the entire board, what we have accomplished and have come. So yeah, we are looking towards the future. And everybody keeps on making the point, and it's exactly what we're doing. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vaselli. And just a point, Elmwood Park actually did pay off their state loan earlier as well. We're not the only school that's trying to do that, but thank you. Is there another member of the public?
Yes, could you bring in the next? Please unmute yourself and state your name and address.
Malik
please.
Sadler, 139 Overpeck Avenue.
Good evening, Ms. Sadler.
Your comment?
I think that if the bill is not interest, like if it's no interest, I think that we should save the money for emergency savings. If a air conditioning unit breaks down, or we need new computers when we all go back to school in September, or some emergency happens, I feel like we need to have money saved for that.
Thank you, Deshaun. And we did explain earlier that we didn't hold back any initiatives. All of the initiatives that were originally put in are still in place.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm Malik, and my father's actually Deshaun, though.
I'm sorry, I'm looking at the screen with the name. Thank you, Malik.
All good.
Great question. Great question.
Thank
For the
you.
question.
Okay, you can bring in the next.
Great
member of the public, please.
self-advocate. We see you, Ms. Ferraro.
Yes,
Are you on mute?
yes.
Okay, thank you. We hear you.
Valerie Ferraro, 436 Teaneck Road. I was a board
Good evening.
trustee before, during, and after the reopening of Lincoln School. The roof on the new addition leaked and the gym floor buckled, needing to be repaired. Repairs were made, after which the roof leaked again. The floor was destroyed for a second time and necessitated replacement. My point is that things happen that are totally unpredictable. Given the fact that we have an aging infrastructure, anything can happen. Secondly, President Gibbons said at the last meeting that this is a blight on the community. I vehemently disagree. If it is indeed a blight, then it rests with the members of the Board of Education in power at the time for the fiscal malfeasance, not on the community. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for your comments.
Okay, bring the next member, Ms. Loycona.
Is that it, Jim?
I'm sorry?
Any more?
Yes, Mrs. Loycona is bringing in the next person now.
Good evening.
Hi, Gillian Mark, 305 Fifth Street, Ridgefield Park. So yes, I'm opposed to doing the extra $500,000 payment. I do think we should save it, or I do think that maybe we should use it and use it for things for the students, especially the special needs students, since we seem to rely heavily on all school special needs to donate their money to buy things for the special needs classrooms, which is a sin. So we have this money, but we don't think to buy anything for the special needs classrooms, like maybe more PT equipment, where our physical therapist only has blocks for the children to work with and stuff like that. There's tons of things you could use this money for to enhance the special needs department, especially, and stop using charity to enhance that department. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, this is Loycona. You can bring in the next person.
Christina Ramos, 382 Teaneck Road. Sorry,
evening.
I don't mean to sound repetitive, but I agree with Ms. Tabasco, Ms. Ferraro, and also Ms. Mark. I just feel like we're jumping ahead of ourselves right now in a time of the unknown. I know you guys don't want to hear that, but it is the truth. We are in a pandemic. There's many expenses that arise unforeseenly. You know, if you live in a house you have and you're doing construction, renovating, especially these old homes here in Ridgefield Park, there's always surprises that come out of those renovations. I can't imagine the surprises that come out of all four, how many schools we have, all the schools in town of the renovations that have to be made. I guess what the public or many of us or some of us, and not all, are, just asking, perhaps, how about waiting just a year? I don't think it's a long time to wait. If the money is still there and available, by all means, we'll make that payment. But I think just at this moment, I think it will give us most of us some comfort in knowing that we have some cushion there. As our parents used to tell us back in the day, save some money for a rainy day. I think this would be a good time to do that. And not only that, but also take a look again at other areas that may need more money than others. Like Ms. Mark just mentioned, the special needs students. It's nice that we reach out to organizations or places for donations and stuff, but really if we have the money and we can, resolve certain things on our own, then we should do so. So pretty much, Mr. Fernandez also mentioned about, if you have a debt, you think about paying those down. You're absolutely right. But when you have a debt, you're looking to pay down credit cards that have interest rates. This state loan does not have an interest rate. And I need to emphasize that again, because we're not paying any interest on this loan. So I just don't see the rush right now as to why we're doing this. It seems that you all do understand that Mr. Demikoff is not leaving, even if you do pay off this state loan. So I just don't see why we just can't give it a year, at least a year. That's all.
Thank you for your comments, ma'am.
Could you bring in the next member of the public, please, Ms. Lloyd-Cohen? Hello, Mrs. Kraft.
Hi, Jody Kraft, 140 Grand Avenue.
Good evening, Mrs. Kraft.
How's everyone doing? As a parent, to hear that they're found extra money in the budget, and I see my two children coming home. My daughter's in an honors English class, and she's currently reading her textbook on a PDF because she doesn't have the appropriate books. Both of my kids are student athletes, and I look at the states of our fields. They're a wreck. They're an embarrassment, quite honestly. The uniforms are a disgrace. Everywhere you look, there can be money spent. So I have a hard time understanding that we can't use every single cent that we find additionally to go back to our students. The facilities are a mess. The sports programs are a mess. The fields are a mess. The textbooks are a mess. So I find it very hard to believe that we can't give every single penny that we find in that budget back to our students, because they are the people that deserve it. And I have another question. Mr. Demikoff, were you included in this decision-making, being that you are part of overseeing the finances in the district? Were you included in the conversation about repaying this money so quickly?
Mrs. Kraft, I found out after this was put on the agenda. I heard conversations here and there in committees that there was a discussion about it, but I was not apprised that it was going on the agenda at the last board meeting until it was on the agenda.
I think that's very telling, Mr. Demikoff, that as someone who was put there to oversee the finances of the district, that this decision was made without including you in a collaborative conversation about whether or not it was a good fiscal decision to use this money to pay off this debt rather than allocate it to the students. That's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kraft. And not to repeat ourselves, all initiatives that administration put forth, including for special needs students, have been accepted, and this was an afterthought. And we have been in contact with Mr. Demikoff, and we will continue to be. But thank you.
No more comments, Mr. Gibbons.
Thank you. I'd like to move to resolutions. FP, Trustee Rodriguez, would you like to move, please?
I so move FP 67, FP 68, and FP 69.
I second.
Mr. Gomes, thank you.
Oh, okay, go ahead, Mary, second.
Any comments, questions regarding resolutions FP 67 through FP 69? Seeing none, Mrs. Rodriguez,
Yes.
Mr. Gomes,
Yes.
Mr. Fernandez,
Yes.
Mr. Phytros,
Yes.
Dr. Martinez,
Yes.
Mrs. O'Neill,
Yes.
Mr. Thiemann,
Yes.
Mr. Verselli,
Yes.
Mr. Cathcart,
Yes.
and President Gibbons.
Yes.
Motion's passed.
Trustee Cathcart, could you please move buildings and grounds?
I move BG 15 through BG 17. Second.
Thank you, Mr. Thiemann. Any comments, questions regarding resolutions BG 15 through BG 17? Seeing none, Mr. Cathcart,
Yes.
Mr. Thiemann,
Yes.
Mr. Fernandez,
Yes.
Mr. Phytros,
Yes.
Mr. Gomes,
Yes.
Dr. Martinez,
Yes.
Mrs. O'Neill,
Yes.
Ms. Rodriguez,
Yes.
Mr. Verselli,
Yes.
President Gibbons.
Yes.
Motion's passed.
Trustee Fernandez, could you please move finance?
Yes, thank you, President Gibbons. So it's finance and insurance, FI 165 to 184. I so move.
I second it, Jim.
And Mr. Cathcart seconded. Is that including the tabled FI 163, or are we just going to regard that? So you're just gonna-
Disregard.
Good, that's what I thought, just wanted to double check. So FI 165. Okay, any comments, questions regarding resolutions FI 165 through FI 184? Seeing none, Mr. Fernandez,
Yes.
Mr. Cathcart,
Yes, but I'll be an abstention on FI 169.
so noted, sir. Mr. Phytros,
Yes.
Mr. Gomes,
Yes.
Dr. Martinez,
Yes.
Mrs. O'Neill,
Yes.
Ms. Rodriguez,
Yes. Excuse me. Yes.
Mr. Thiemann,
Yes.
Mr. Verselli,
Yes.
President Gibbons,
Yes.
motion's passed.
Don't we have to move FL 163?
No, not unless the board wants to. You could just vote
Well,
on,
it's actually 185, the amended.
yeah, you don't have to move the table unless the board wishes to.
No, we didn't decide to move on FI 185.
I'm assuming you're going to do that as a separate,
Yes, we discussed that we were going to move it separately, correct? We could do that now, or we could do that at the end. Let's do it now then.
Let's do that.
Thank
now.
you.
Yeah, I'll move FI 185.
Second.
Thank you.
okay, who was my second? I'm sorry. Mr. Gomes, thank you. Okay, any comments, questions regarding resolution FI 185?
I just have a question. If we do not pay off that extra 500,000, what else can we do with that money? Are we restricted? Do we have to spend it?
I'm sorry, what was that? You're asking if we have to spend the
Yeah, like,
500,000?
If we don't use it.
Oh, if we don't spend it,
If we don't spend the $500,000,
Mhm. What happens to it?
yes, what happens to it? Are we
Certainly.
restricted? Can we use it? Like what?
Well, what would happen is on June 30th, surplus funds, and this has been the practice since I've been in the district, it's been a long time practice of mine, is to move those funds into either capital reserve or maintenance reserve, which I have then been utilizing in the next proposed budget cycle for facility improvements.
So it has
construction
to be
projects.
used for maintenance or facility, not for curriculum,
No.
not for smaller
No.
class sizes, nothing like that.
Or put
No.
in capital
You could,
gains.
yeah, we move it into either capital or maintenance reserve. You can't move it into
You
a
can't move it
curriculum.
anywhere
There's no
else.
reserve for
I just
curriculum.
needed that clarification.
Certainly,
Thank you.
no problem.
I have a comment.
Yes.
Any further comments?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
I just want to thank President Gibbons first for keeping the quorum in these meetings. We've been able to disagree, and every board member has been able to share their thoughts on this and other issues where we agree or disagree. I also want to thank Mr. Fernandez for suggesting that we pause on this item 185 last month, and that we talk more about it and get at least some consensus about what the purpose of this resolution was. I've been assured by both trustees that no budget items this year will be sacrificed. I've also been assured that nothing from the proposed budget for next year will be sacrificed in order to allow us to make these extra 2 payments, and that kind of makes me sleep a little bit better if this resolution passes today. I gave it a lot of thought, and I'm glad that nothing that was promised to the staff and the kids, especially the teachers, will be knowingly slashed for this initiative. However, I still want to raise several issues that have me worried, and it can open up discussion or not. I think most of us have already made up our mind, but I feel the need to explain my vote tonight. First of all, I see no evidence that this is in the state's monitor's demeanor, that he was impressed or happy with this initiative at any point by this early payoff attempt or the possible spirit behind it. And he is the eyes and the ears for the state. So I really doubt that at the state level, they're going to be impressed that we send them an extra 2 payments. I think the biggest step forward that we're taking in terms of getting Mr. Demikoff and the people behind him to leave us alone and let us self-govern is the fact that we do have a BA, a proposed BA on the agenda for today, which he has repeatedly said is one of the most important things that we as a district can do to move forward. So I think that that's a big deal, and that's a great step forward in addition to all the other wonderful things you've heard tonight. But we have no assurances that next year's state funding won't be cut like the $500,000 that were cut from 2019 to 2020. Now, I know that we seem to be in great fiscal shape, but this past year has been a year like no other in the history of education. And we have no assurances that state funding is not going to get cut next year. In fact, I think that, having worked for the government for most of my life, the cardinal rule is you use it or lose it. And my fear is that last year they cut $500,000 from our budget and we survived. This year, we're doing so well that we're sending them the $250,000 that they expect, and we're sending them an extra $500,000. Meanwhile, in Hackensack, right across the river, if anybody's driven through Hackensack, you'll see that they're building these skyscrapers of residential buildings. If I was cutting up the state pie next year, I would be giving Hackensack more money, and I would be giving Ridgefield Park less money. Now, we might be okay because of all the grants that we have, maybe. But there's no takesies or backsies with this money. Once we write that check back to the state, assuming they accept it, we can't ask for it back because pandemic number 3 came through. I'll remind the board that in 2018, we paid architects, Jim Tevis. I'm going to need another 4 minutes. I'm speaking to the public right now. Yeah. This is not a presentation. This is me explaining my vote on $500,000. I think we can wait 4 minutes. Yes. I'll read it. I wrote the word slow, but I'm going to erase it and speak faster. I'll remind the board that in 2018, we paid architects to survey our buildings, and they found $52 million in desperately needed improvements. We have not come close to that number this or next year. And I really bristle at the idea that we have a surplus in Ridgefield Park. I know that accountants use that word, but there's no way to have a surplus in Ridgefield Park. Just because the funds were not allocated yet does not make them a surplus. If we gave that $500,000 to the new principals or to Mr. Tevis, they would find a long list of things that our teachers need yesterday. Our teachers are used to being told no, so they don't ask as much. For example, Mr. Gibbons, you brought up many times that the field house needs to be redone. I think if we gave Jim Tevis $500,000 and told him to improve the field house, I think he would find a bidder that could give us a good field house that not only isn't dangerous for our football players, but that is updated so that kids can work out in the way that kids should be working out now, not with the weights that we used to use many years ago, and that is also female athlete friendly, right? That field house is completely inappropriate for our female athletes who use the field just as much as our boys. This year, we're also proposing to do half of the science rooms for about $450,000. I say let's do the other half for that $500,000. And then no matter what happens next year, they can't take our science rooms or our field house. Our special needs program for the summer, have we asked those teachers if they have a wish list? In case COVID comes back, are we sure that we're really good on ventilation in these buildings so that if COVID comes back, we can keep the windows longer, we can keep more students in? 1 minute, I promise.
I need to, I'm sorry.
Let me just finish. Last year, parents went out of pocket to do a fundraiser for girls' basketball uniforms. Our JV uniforms and boys' uniforms look terrible. Our parents, up to very recently, used to get a list of items that they had to bring into school, pencils and Sharpies and all these highlighters. And that's just my list, right? I say we table this for a year. I say we wait this COVID thing out. I say, let's see how much state aid the state gives us next year. Maybe we'll make 3 payments next year. Let's take inventory of the ongoing projects. Let's revisit the architect plans. And when we can think of nothing else that our kids and teachers and buildings needs, then we can make early payments. But I'm just not ready to spike the ball. I appreciate your patience.
I need to jump in for, I'm sorry, President Gibbons. I just need to jump in for full transparency because I don't want Mrs. Rodriguez to be, take the command. I want to make sure it's clear. The 500,000 is a June 30th date. Anything that we would need between now and June 30th could be spent on anything.
Let's go.
Do you understand? So the 500,000 is here and now in this year's budget. So if Dr. Haynes comes to me and says we need to buy more X, Y, or Z for whatever, the CTE program, for STEAM or STEM.
We're putting a contract out for the field house.
But I just wanted to be transparent. So it is clear that it is, they are correct. It's 500,000, that it's in surplus at the end of June 30th.
Thank
Be sure you
Dr.
can.
Bender.
Unfortunately, I just want to make sure that everybody understands the fields, they are not ours. We don't own the fields, so we cannot spend money on the fields. And you cannot fix a field house by June 30th or anything like that. You know, again, we are planning for the future. It allows money in the future.
But would we be able to
Thank you, Mr.
allocate that
Verselli.
money for the field house before June 30th? And then it would be a project going forward, but already be accounted for?
I think I don't, I'm sorry, trustee O'Neill. I don't want to speak for Mr. Tevis, but
You
I
can't-
know
you-
all construction initiatives have been in for this year.
Yeah, you
and we
couldn't,
didn't-
there's not enough time to get that done by July 1st. But what would happen is it would fall to capital or maintenance reserve, as I stated, on June 30th. And then those funds could then be used for any facility initiative.
So then next year we could do the field house with it, correct?
If the board so wished, yes.
Okay.
So we're gonna move FI 185.
There's already a motion and a second.
Yes, thank you. You can go ahead, Mr.
Okay.
Tevis.
Any further comments, questions regarding resolution FI 185? Seeing none. Mr. Fernandez?
I'm a yes, and I just want to make sure that everybody in the public knows that, you know, I did give this almost a month in consideration for most of our board members and the public to get a further understanding of this. I would just want to make a statement that we are addressing the needs for the 21-22 budget. No changes were made to the existing budget, nor to next year's budget. As Mr. Demikoff and Miss Dr. Bender have said, we made great strides, and we're looking at this, you know, to look at paying down the loan as, you know, why is there no return on our investment? It's really short-sighted, and I just want to make sure, as a civil servant elected by the taxpayers of the Village of Ridgefield Park, that this district needs to start planning for the day that we, or one day, have to say goodbye to our state monitor with the great job he's done and the strides and the hurdles we've came across. So I am a yes to 185. Thank you.
Mr. Gomes?
Yes.
Mr. Phytros?
I'm a yes.
Dr. Martinez?
I'm going to be a no.
Mrs. O'Neill?
No.
Mrs. Rodriguez?
I'm going to be a no.
Mr. Thiemann?
Yes.
Mr. Verselli?
Yes.
Mr. Cathcart?
Yes.
President Gibbons?
Yes,
Motion passed.
thank you. I'd like to move on to,
You could do the consent agenda now if you want to.
I'm sorry.
You could do the consent agenda now if you want to, or it doesn't matter, whatever you want to do.
Okay, that's fine. We can move on to the consent agenda.
Okay, just need a motion.
Like to move to the consent
Is there a
agenda?
number on it, Jim?
Yes, CR 26.
CR.
26.
I second it.
Okay, who was my first?
Bob.
Mr.
Bob,
Thiemann
thank
and
you.
Mr.
Thank you, Mr.
Cathcart.
Thiemann. Mr. Cathcart. Any comments, questions regarding resolution CR number 26? Seeing none. Mr. Thiemann.
Yes.
Mr. Cathcart.
Yes.
Mr. Fernandez.
Yes.
Mr. Phytros.
Yes.
Mr. Gomes.
Yes.
Dr. Martinez.
Yes.
Mrs. O'Neill.
Yes.
Mrs. Rodriguez.
Yes.
Mr. Verselli.
Yes.
President Gibbons.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Yes, trustee Thiemann, please. Personnel, can you move?
I'm going to move 154 through 167. That's even in the new personnel. Does anybody want anything separated?
Oh, 167, 167. So you're also moving the new business at the same time?
Is that new
Okay.
business?
Okay, that's fine.
I will second it.
Can I just make a comment before we do all of them? I was going to do this under new business, but I guess since we're going to move it all together, I'll do it at this time.
Proceed, Dr.
Okay, thank you, President Gibbons. I just cannot speak highly enough of the past year and a half that I've worked with Mr. Tevis side by side as equals, and I have to thank you for everything you have done for myself and the district. It has been a complete pleasure to have a colleague like you, to be beside a true gentleman and a scholar. And I cannot thank you enough, Mr. Tevis, for your hard work and dedication.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Board of Ed, for, extending him this last year.
Thank you, Mr. Tevis.
I really appreciate, he has been above and beyond.
Absolutely.
With that being said, unfortunately, we all know that we could not keep Mr. Tevis another year, but I am happy to share that we have found an excellent replacement. And if the board chooses to, Ms. Carrie Grabstein is our replacement for Mr. Tevis. And she's been very well vetted, and it is with great pride that I present her to the board.
Jim, this doesn't come with a gold watch.
Right.
I was so hoping.
We tried to keep you forever, but we would have loved to.
It wasn't in the
Well,
budget,
thank you.
Jim.
I
It wasn't in the
appreciate it.
budget. I'm sure you'll visit. I'm sure you'll visit, Mr. Tevis.
Thank you. I've had a good run here. And
Do a
and
little
now don't
fishing.
bring it up anymore. I still have 3 more board meetings. And
Just one more.
This was
I
it.
know we do drive you crazy at times, but
Jim, the quality of your work was outstanding.
It
Absolutely.
means a lot, folks. It
And-
really does.
And you're going to be very difficult to replace.
That's why we're in this position.
Yeah. Thanks.
Just to,
Okay.
yeah, just to, thank you. Just to review, we've moved personnel, correct? And we have to now.
Yes, and
vote.
we have I'm just about, yep.
Okay, thank you.
So, any further comments, questions regarding resolutions P154 through P167? Seeing none, Mr. Thiemann,
Yes.
Mr. Cathcart,
Yes.
Mr.
Oh, no,
Fernandez.
Jim, excuse me.
Yes, sir.
I will be an abstention on 160.
You are an abstention on 160. So noted, sir. Mr. Fernandez,
Yes.
Mr. Phytros,
Yes to all except no to 167.
no to which one, sir?
167.
Okay, no to 167. Yes on all others. So noted, sir. Mr. Gomes,
Yes.
Dr. Martinez,
Yes.
Mrs. O'Neill,
Yes.
Mrs. Rodriguez,
Yes.
Mr. Verselli,
Just want to thank you, Jim, for all you've done, and I'm a yes.
thank you, sir. President Gibbons,
Yes.
motion passed.
And thank you, Jim, again, and welcome Ms. Grabstein to Ridgefield Park. And I also wanted to make a comment. I saw Nicholas Arciolo recently. It was great to see him out watching his teammates play baseball, and his family, Peter, they're looking to pay it back and have a blood drive soon. So hopefully everyone in the community can be a part of that. Thank you.
You have a second public participation.
Oh,
sir.
we have,
Second public participation.
yeah, citizens' comments off agenda items and unfinished. So, Mr. Tevis, could we move along to citizens' comments off agenda items?
Yes, sir. Please
Thank
bring
you.
in the first, okay, we have, first person is coming on. Ms.
Hi.
Ramos. State your name.
Christina Ramos, 32 Teaneck Road.
Good evening.
Okay, one last one for the night. Thank you, Mr. Tevis, for all your dedication to our district these past couple of, well, how long were you with us? Year, 2 years? I think it was, right? 3. Oh, wow. They flew by, right? I'm sure you had lots of fun with us. I'm sad to see you go. And even though you used to cut me off a few times when I was speaking, don't worry, I don't take it personal. But you did a great job. I have to say that it was a breath of fresh air having you on board. And you alongside Mrs. Bender, it really has shown light at the end of the tunnel that the district can move forward with the right people in place. And I'm grateful that, we've made made a lot of progress in the time that you've been here, and, all the detailed preparation in the budgets that you put together. They were really excellent. And thank you.
It's always been a team effort, but I do.
And just to close out, one last thing, as part of the 160, I'm sorry, I lost the 500K being approved. I'm holding you all.
I'm sorry. We're only discussing items off agenda, ma'am. I don't mean to be.
Okay, well, I just want to say that.
We have a process.
Okay, so I'm not going to go much into it. I'm just saying that everyone today who voted for it, today, April 28th, we will hold. Well, I personally will remember and note this date, that if down the road we are short by any means, or anything changes and any promises are broken, I'm going to hold you all to it. Have a good night, all.
Thank you, ma'am. And it's a great day for the community. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mrs. Ramos. Thank you.
Next comment, please.
Jim, is there anybody else?
There's one more, and Ms. Loic is bringing her in now.
Okay,
Mr.
Jim,
Hidalgo?
I have no words to describe the great job that you have done at Ridgefield Park. And whoever comes after you has very big shoes to fill. And I just want to wish you good luck and enjoy your model trainings.
Thank you so much, Mr.
You're
Hidalgo. I
welcome.
appreciate that.
Thank you, Mr. Hidalgo.
Is that it, Jim?
That's it.
So unfinished business or any new business, we're going to move, Mr. Trustee Thiemann, move to adjourn.
And I second it.
Great. Okay, we're done. Thank you. Have a good evening, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Good night.
Night, everyone.